Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts like the chart behind me, which is of ticker symbol USAR, which is USA Rare Earth Incorporated, which closed on Thursday, April 17th at a price of $14.09, being down about 10% on the day, putting in a bearish engulfing candle there, engulfing the open and close from Wednesday's trading. So not looking so great there. Does seem like we could be putting in a topping signal here with the big wick up on Wednesday hitting a high of $18.55 before closing at $15.66, right around, in the lower half of the trading for that day. So that does make me think that that is a topping signal. So we'll have to explore that a little bit. And I have to say the reason why I want to be covering this is it does seem like it was popular on X a few days ago, probably because of the big upside moves. And a couple days ago, I did put out this poll. Plug ended up winning. So I did put out a couple videos on Plug Power. And so now I just wanted to do a follow-up with this poll, go over USAR. I will try to get out videos on AMC and Rivian as well. But I got to start with the second place winner, which is USAR. So here, looking at the charts, did mention that I do think this looks like we might be putting in a top, and that's really just corresponding with, the low here, 556, going up to that high of 1855 or whatever it was I said, 1855, up over 200%, over 230% over the span of 20 calendar days, just 3 weeks, 14 trading days. So really, 3 weeks with the holiday week. So, that's a pretty massive upside move. And I think that we could be seeing a little bit of a pullback. Where could I see this pulling back to? To be honest, pretty clear. Looks to me like maybe the high from April 4th was at a price of $10.05. So I'm just going to, lock that into place. And I'm going to make this yellow. Maybe it's a dip by level, but maybe we do go lower. We really want to see some other lines that kind of correspond with or suggest with that being a retracement level that would suggest that is a dip by zone, because maybe we do pull down to 1050. That did correspond with, let's see, on April 8th the highs was 1057, the open was 1050. So maybe that is going to be acting as support. But just below there we do see quite a bit more consolidation. And so maybe like the dip by green level, I'll make this a thick green line to correspond with that. That might be 850. And that corresponds with the open price from April 4th when we did hit that high of 1050. So both of those levels based on that same day. And then we did consolidate just below that level. So any consolidation below, that's potential buyers that would buy the dip. So I could see that acting as, and actually maybe, got all this consolidation over here around $7. Let's see, what was the high from March 26th? The high was 709. Yeah, so I'm actually going to add another level, and I might adjust the colors here. So the high here, 709, right around $7. So I might make that, a thick green line. Not to be confused with this one, so I'm going to make this one yellow, and I'm going to make this one red. And so those are levels that I think that this could likely will be returning to. And we could also see that, based on this prior stock price doesn't have really much of a history. What we can see is we do have, lower highs in the stock price. We also do have lower highs in the RSI. So there's no divergence there. That would be bearish divergence. So that is a good sign. So I think that we can be happy about that. What we also see, though, which is maybe not so great, is when we didn't have much volume over here, we saw that high of $20, and maybe that's, a red line level to be saying, that would be one that I think is probably going to be acting as resistance. Yep, double top up there. Look at all this volume that we have behind these upside moves. And we didn't even get up to that high of $20. So that makes me think that there's a little bit of divergence in that sense, while not with the RSI. There is with the volume. We have a lower high, but a lot more volume. So all of this volume can't push this up to 20 or above. That makes me a little bit concerned. But if we do push to above 20 and the RSI is below the high over here on Pi Day, March 14th, was 76.19. If RSI is not above 76.19 and stock price is above 20, that would then be bearish divergence. I think we'd be seeing a pullback, but I think we're already starting to see signs of that pullback. And so I can draw, let's see, a trend line from over here. I'm going to do it from the, let's see, open from Thursday, which was at a price of 1633. Just going to make sure that those levels are correct. 1636. I want to make it 1633 from that open, and then 20. And yeah, so maybe there's, some resistance there. I could see that. Did get a wick above it, but closed below. Opened at it, closed below. Bearish engulfing candle does make me think that there's going to be some resistance there. And then also, let's see, maybe I can do this. Kind of want to do this blind. Let's do a Fibonacci extension from the low here, 556, up to the high of, let's see, what was that high hit here? 1057. And then pulling down to the low here, which was April 9th. That low was 772. We've definitely gone past the 100% extension, which is 1226. The 1618, 1536, that's above current price. Maybe that corresponds with the top. It does seem like we have a topping signal there, a potential topping signal there. And I can also add to this the 2618. That will be getting to around 2037. So if the stock price does go higher, if it does go above $20, I think that there most certainly be some resistance there. So I would be cautious of that. And, to just kind of clean up the chart, since we are above the 100%, I'm going to leave that there. But I think that, you're never going to sell the exact top. And so maybe that 1618 extension is, that, not selling the exact top, because, got to push it a little bit higher to have some bag holders up here. And so I could see this retracing, maybe, like I said, to 1050, if not lower. And so I'm just going to make this a light blue Fibonacci extension there. So some potential levels for us to get to. But I will also do a Fibonacci retracement so we could see if this was the high, if the high that we hit on April 16th at a price of 1855 was the high that we're pulling back now. Where are we going to retrace to? So I'm just going to do a Fibonacci retracement from that low of 556 to that high of, what did I say it was? On the 16th, 1855. And so I'm just going to make sure that's right. 1855, 556. So that makes sense. 1205. I don't really think that's a significant one. So I'm going to adjust this 50% retracement. I'm going to remove it. We got that 618. Corresponds, coincidentally, I don't know, pretty nicely with 1050 being that orange line that I've drawn here, which was the high from over here. And that is at 1052. The high over here was 1050. Confluence, lots of support there, but that's an orange. So maybe we go a little bit lower. And so I've got this yellow line here at 850. The 786 from that Fibonacci retracement is at 834, a pretty nice confluence of levels there. So I could see this pulling back to that. The green, 7, I think that's probably getting a little bit greedy, but I think it could happen. So I think that even if this goes up to like 2037, whatever it is, I think that this is probably going to be pulling back, maybe finding support, with this downtrend. If it does go up, maybe it pulls back, finds support at the downtrend. Maybe that's a 382 retracement from that at that point, but that hasn't happened yet. So let's not assume it's going to happen. Let's work with what we have on the chart. And so that would be suggesting a retracement to either 1050 or 850, somewhere around there. We also do have this gap here. And so the closing price on, let's see, April 14th was at 1175. So I'm just going to make that line a little bit thicker so we can see it clear, make it dashed so we know it's a gap that's not been filled, and make it blue. But with that being said, we also have another gap. The closing price on April 11th was at 831. So I'm just going to make that dashed again, make it thicker so we can see it, and make it blue. So we also know there's a gap there. There's a lot of confluence, is what I'm saying, at the 786 at around 850, at around 850. But maybe all of this confluence, a lot of people have attention drawn to 830 to 850, maybe 869. They want to have fun with it. Say, I'm going to wait until there. But then they get left behind. I think that's possible. But we also have this gap down here. Another gap. That's from April 3rd. The close on that day was 650. So I'm just going to make that a dashed line. Gap. That's another gap to the downside. But maybe that is then one that people get too greedy with. Also, this green line around 7. Maybe people want to buy it $6.90, 69. Have some fun with it. Maybe that's what people are waiting for. And those people will be getting left behind. People, are going to lose conviction as this goes lower. And I think that's going to be where the opportunity lies. Sub 1175, I think this gap's going to get filled. I think realistically, this is probably going below 1050. I think 850, maybe 869. Dip buying levels. And before I forget, I just wanted to pull up the moving averages out of curiosity. Hey, where are those moving averages? So we got the 50 in yellow and the 200-day in blue. And those are at, let's see, the 50 is at 1075. The 200 days at 1104. Those are just above my orange line there at 1050, just above the 618 at 1052. A lot of confluence there. But we also have the 21-day moving average. That is at a price of 892. And that is just above the levels that I'm talking about here at 834, which is the 786, the yellow line at 850, and that gap fill at 831. And so, maybe this comes down to 9. So I do think that this could go up to 20, but I don't think that will be long-lived. I think that overall, it's putting in more bearish signals. And I think that what we would want to see, if this does go up to 20, that doesn't mean it's not coming back down. If this does go up to 20 and is not going to come back down, or is less likely to come back down to 1175, 850, 1050, whatever it is, what would make me think it's less likely to come down to fill these gaps would be a close above this high at 855. So if we get a close above 855, that would make me think that if we do, I just need to have this like this. If we do get a move up to 20 and then get a close above 855, then I'd think that maybe we retrace to here and then potentially go up. Let's see how that arrow looks. It's a crappy arrow. But that would be if we get a close above 1855. I think this could happen. But as of right now, I think if we get a move, which I think is totally possible, if we get a move up to 20 or 2037, but no closes above 1855, I think that we could get something like this. And then maybe it goes to the upside. And that's a little bit better of an arrow, but it's still kind of ugly. But yeah, and that does, correspond with testing some of these moving averages, filling or nearly filling some of these gaps. So I kind of like that scenario. So, I mean, from current price, is there upside potential? Yeah, potentially 40% to 20, but I think that's very risky. And personally, I don't think it's worth it. But maybe there's something there. I think that what is more appealing is to wait for a downside move of maybe 16% to maybe start adding to a position. But really, I would wait for a 25% drawdown to around 1050 to maybe a quarter of a position. Then maybe get up to a 3/4 of a position. That's a 40% drop from current price. Fill in the second gap down here, and then maybe have that remaining quarter of a position in cash on the side to then add if it does come down to around 7, which would be about a 50% drawdown from current price. But then at that point, maybe it's just breaking down. So good to really kind of evaluate that. But I just find USAR to be pretty compelling in that, USA investing in the US, mining, not and investing in our domestic mining of rare earth elements and divesting from other countries, China, whatnot. So I think that this is a appealing play, a compelling play, a compelling play. But I do think that after, like I said, this over 260% move to the upside, I think we got to cool off a little bit, and I think that we're seeing signs that is going to be happening. So 1050 down to 850, I think we'll be seeing it, and I think that it's pretty appealing down there, but not just yet. But anyways, as always, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, you guys.